All right, good morning, Oakley, Kansas, and America. This is Justin at Seeking Context, and I'm excited to be hosting a Mother's Day special with my good friend Celia Shacklett, who I haven't seen probably in 20 years.
At least.
At least 20 years. And Celia is a musician who lives in St. Louis, Missouri. She is a fellow graduate of Oakley High School. I graduated in 1992. Celia was 94. And we also want to send congratulations to the Oakley High School graduating class of 2021, who is walking across the stage this afternoon. So congrats to them. And this episode is in honor of Celia's mother, Bonnie Shacklett, who was my kindergarten teacher, and my mother, Regi Wieland, who is or was Celia's grade school music teacher. I think probably all K through 6.
No, but she came in maybe 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay. All right. So this will be a fun interview. And I want to start out by, Celia, you're a working musician living in St. Louis, Missouri. You're in your studio apartment, your apartment, which is a studio.
That's right. It's got a few bedrooms, but it's also my studio.
Right. And so I'm curious to know, like, what is a day in the life of Celia Shacklett like in Missouri?
Well, it's been different, right? It's been a little different the last year and a couple months than it was before. But I guess I'll tell you what a current day in the life is like, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Usually the mornings I have to do my own thing. I answer emails and drink coffee and hang out with my kitty cats and stuff like that. And then in the afternoons, I often see students. I have a number of guitar students. And since maybe like last May, I've been riding my bicycle around and seeing kids in their yards when I can. I've got a couple students that don't live in St. Louis. So
you mean like you see them, you don't view them, you talk to them or teach them guitar?
Yeah, I go around on my bicycle and I see them and that we hang out in their yards and play guitar. And even through the winter, we did it. A lot of kids had outdoor areas to hang out with fire pits or propane heaters. So we kind of do it unless it's too rainy. And cool. I've been seeing my kids outside for, a year now. And then I usually get back here in time I have my students that don't live in St. Louis. I have a couple students that live in San Francisco. And so I see them, in the evening time when it's their after school time.
By Zoom?
Yeah, on Zoom. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And then, in the evenings, I often practice, get ready for my shows,
and
or I might do two nights a week. I do a show remotely,
right?
Online.
On Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And then, so during or before COVID, was it a similar schedule? And it was just that Wednesday and Saturday nights were out at a bar or a venue where you were performing?
Yeah, oftentimes. Before COVID, my students would come here, so that changed things around a little bit. I wasn't traveling quite so much to see people, but I also was in a number of bands. So oftentimes an evening would be band practice or a gig, right. Or if it was a night off, I'll be socializing or whatever. But things have been a lot different, and I've been home a lot, which has been fun. I've had more time to practice for myself. And,
Right. Well, so one of the things I was curious about, this episode is in honor of the moms. And, I've heard that Bonnie doesn't really approve of all this modern technology and social media. She got a lot of rules. And, tons of rules. A few months ago, I saw that I think you perform a song sometimes talking about these rules that your mom has. And I assume, what does she think about podcasting?
Oh, no podcasting allowed. Absolutely. My mom's a nice lady, but she's very strict.
I see. Well, I'm curious if you could tell us a little more about that.
Well, she called me this morning. She said, listen, no podcasting allowed. You tell Justin, go do his podcast somewhere else. It's not allowed.
Not allowed.
That's not allowed.
Come on, Bonnie.
Don't allow no podcast around here. Don't do it. Mama don't allow no podcast around here. Cut it out. We don't care what Pop don't allow. you're gonna podcast anyhow. Mama don't allow no podcast around here.
Well, that is that's unfortunate. We are going to have to continue podcasting, Buddy.
We don't care. We don't care what Mama don't allow.
We don't care. So I'm curious. That's a fun song that I've seen you perform in the middle, usually in the middle of your shows.
Totally.
And so, like, how does it work when you're performing a show? Like, are you picking that song when it just feels right, the vibe is right, or do you plan it all in advance? How does it work when you do a one-person show for an hour or 2 hours?
Well, it's kind of a mixture of those two things. I'll often have sort of an idea of an arc, like I want to kind of bring people in and then maybe have I think of that song oftentimes for my kid shows as the emotional climax, right, of the show. So I often put it in the middle. And I also like it when kids have to wait for it because my audiences, my in-person audiences are crazy about that song. That song makes it in almost every kid set that I play.
Yeah, and there's a number of verses.
Oh, yeah. And we get crazy, right? Like at the end, it's no laughing, no being loud, no acting wild and crazy. I'm trying to whip them into a frenzy, and especially live audiences. I really want it to get just about as crazy as it can. I feel like it's a great success when I see the grown-ups, if their hands go to their head, then that's like goal accomplished, right? When I see them be like, that's what I'm going for.
So when you're doing live stuff and in the past before COVID, like, is it a lot of like family events, kid events?
Mm-hmm. In fact, the last several summers before COVID, I will have the whole summer booked up going into libraries. I play a lot of libraries regionally and even a little, even a little farther sometimes. I'll travel pretty far if I can get a string of shows, kind of in proximity to each other, then I'll move out as far as the shows go. But the summer of 2019, I had, over 60 shows between June 1st and the end of July. So it's,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just rolling. Sometimes there'll be 3 shows, maybe as many as 4 in a day. And they're 45-minute shows. It's called Celia's Sing-Along Dance Party. And it's a wild show, right? It has a reputation for getting everybody up and moving.
That's fun. And are you doing that? Is it a solo show? Just Celia?
That's a solo show. I also have a couple offerings with, I work with a puppeteer named Jeannie Bryan, and we do some shows together. We have the Celia and Little Celia show. Little Celia is a puppet that looks exactly like me.
It's a perfect resemblance. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's exactly like me. And then there's a show called Celia and Friends with the Puppets. And then I'm in a band that plays music for kids that also travels and plays libraries, and that's called Fire Dog. And we focus on usually we have a whole couple of albums about that the songs are about endangered species. So they're songs about animals that we sing, and it's a rock and roll band, a 3-piece. So and that's hilarious playing rock and roll at the library.
Yeah. And do you write some of your own music?
Yeah, I do write some of my own music. I have some songs that I've written, and then I also do co-writing with kids pretty frequently. So I've incorporated some songs that kids have written or helped me write in my set. That's pretty
fun. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you have more time in your day than a normal person.
I got 28 hours.
Oh, well, that's really cool.
I mean, I don't have to go. I do what I want, which I feel like I've spent my entire life trying to get it that way. And I'm very happy to report that. And especially during COVID, it's crazy. I never would have thought that I would feel even more independent, but I literally make my own schedule. And it's a little different when you have outside gigs because you don't get to choose all the time when you play. You play when people ask you to. But
right. Well, so I discovered that your live performances are kind of early COVID when you were doing Facebook Live. Was that something that was brought about because of COVID, or were you already doing some online performances before that?
No, never at all. And it was actually Sandy Beaches who had played a few songs and just put videos up on Facebook to entertain myself and my friends. And somebody got in touch and hired Sandy for for an online show. And the first time we did it, I was sold. I was like, well, it scratches the itch. You know, I'm a performer. That's what I do. And the prospect of not performing for a period of time was kind of terrifying to me, you know, like I need that outlet. And it's crazy. People comment and put their little hearts and their little thumbs on there. And it really approximates the feeling, you know, you get feedback. And I mean, I keep coming back. I don't have plans to stop, actually. I think I'm just going to keep live streaming even my in-person shows, because I don't want to leave those people behind, you know?
Right. Well, it's fun to see you. And Sandy, how did you meet Sandy? How did that come about? Was it just like he just came to your apartment one day at the start of COVID?
Well, yes, that's exactly what happened. Actually, Sandy's there was a band a couple years ago we put together for a few shows in St. Louis, and Sandy Beaches is a character that I developed for that band. And he was a hit when I brought him out, you know, to the world. Everybody loved Sandy Beaches. And then I had been kind of missing him in early 2020. And then when COVID-19 happened, I was just hanging around my house, kind of doing my own thing. And one day I thought, I'm just gonna do this little song and put it on the internet. And that's what happened. But the story is that Sandy Beaches is a guitar player in a cruise ship band. And then everybody on the cruise ship got furloughed. And he called me, his best friend Cece, and asked if he could come stay with me for a couple weeks because he didn't know what to do. And I was like, sure, come on. Well, there's nothing to do, but we can, you know, hang out. And he showed up, and he's been I call him my best house guest.
Well, I heard he might even be visiting. Is he stopping by?
You know what?
I'd love to see
him. I don't know if he's sleeping or what, but maybe we can get him to come out. Sandy Beaches.
We'll give him some time.
Come on, Sandy. Yeah, he's the best. He doesn't eat that much, or, you know, about the same as me, literally. He loves my kitties, and, you know, he plays music that I don't necessarily play. So it's been a great rock and roll exploration.
Right. I feel like, is he a Jimmy Buffett fan?
That's funny. He's never played a single Jimmy Buffett song ever.
Really? It seems like they would get along.
It's a very similar vibe, right?
Oh, so, here he is now.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming. Let's see.
Now he's here.
I'll tell you what, now he's here. Right. Hey, Justin, what's going on?
Well, it's nice to meet you, Sandy. I've seen you online a couple of times.
I saw you too. Me and Cece watched a couple of your podcasts before.
Well, Mom don't allow it, but we're doing our podcasting anyway.
Yeah, I know. Cece's mom's a little bit strict, but we get away with a lot.
How's it staying over at Celia's house?
Oh, I love it. Cece's my best friend in the world, and she's a good cook, and she's kept me in grand style. Did you hear? I've been here for over a year.
Yeah, but you perform. The Facebook apparently still is letting you perform. You haven't been censored.
Oh no, they love me on Facebook. That's where my biggest fans are. I'm an internet star.
You're a sensation.
I'm a sensation. Well, guess what? I got a couple in-person gigs coming up because
really?
People wanted. Yeah. So I'm not going back to cruise ship for a while. I'm going to stick around and do a few gigs, I guess.
I would go on this cruise whenever you get back to the cruising industry. You let me know.
You want me? Okay.
Yeah.
And CDC says don't go on a cruise yet. I don't know if you knew that. CDC's like, nah, no cruises.
I think risk reward on cruising right now is not something that's enticing me.
Yeah, you got to get a big drink package to make that worthwhile, I think.
Can you share a tune with us?
You bet, Justin. I was hoping you would ask. I play a different guitar than CC does too. I mean, this is her guitar. I use all of her gear, but this is George Benson, and this is my regular guitar. And I want to play this song by one of my personal heroes, Bob Seger. Yeah, you remember Bob Seger?
I'm familiar.
Okay, all right. Well, I thought I wanted to dedicate this song especially to the people of Oakley, Kansas, because you know me. I grew up in Oakley too. Did you know that?
No, you must kind of underground.
I graduated in the same class as the Trent Renner and Annette Nelson. Did you know that?
No, that's interesting. I'll have to ask them about their
Yeah.
experience growing up with
Ask
you.
them if they remember me. I'm curious.
All right. I haven't seen Trent lately, but I'll ask him when I see him.
I was kind of shy then. I don't know if they knew. I'm way more, you know, I'm a little more flamboyant now.
I can see that.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, this song is dedicated to Oakley, Kansas. And I don't know if Bob Seger meant this like in a good way or what, but I mean it in a good way. Okay.
Okay.
Always won every time you placed the bet. Still damn good. No one's gotten to you yet. Every time they were sure they had you caught, you were quicker than they thought. You just turned your back and walked. You always said the cards would never do you wrong. Trick you said was never play the game too long. A gambler said the only risk that you would take, the only loss you could forsake, the only bluff you couldn't fake. Cause you're still the same. I caught up with you yesterday. Game to game, no one's standing in your way. Turning on the charm long enough to get you by. Cause you're still the same. You still aim high. There you stood, everybody watching you play. I just turned and walked away. I had nothing left to say. But you're still the same. But you're still the same. Game to game. Oh, you're still the same. Love ya, Oakley, Kansas.
Well, Oakley, Kansas loves you too, Sandy.
I mean, it is crazy to me, these live performances, how much I've been in contact with people from my whole life, from throughout the years. You know, CC too, she feels the same way. I know she does.
Yeah, that's cool. I've been back in Oakley for the last 6 months or so, and it's still the same and different.
Yeah, still the same and different. I get it. Well, hey,
yeah.
Listen, I don't want to horn in on this podcast too much more. Let me get Cece back out here.
Okay.
So, because I know this is not about me, Sandy B.
Right. Well, we're glad to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, Sandy. Nice.
Wow. So I'm glad he could join us. He's got his own room.
Yeah.
Or is he on the couch usually?
He's got his own. No, he is usually on the couch, but he does have his own.
Right. Well, so Celia, I'm curious, when you started performing on Facebook and then Sandy started performing, you share like your Venmo and your PayPal info on there. Were you able to, I guess now I know that you actually have you teach guitar. I'm sure that's an income source, but were you able to actually, start earning income that competed with your live in-person performances by being online?
Absolutely. I mean, the generosity of people near and far, friends, strangers, it's been astonishing. I mean, humbling and beautiful. I can't even believe it. It was amazing to be held aloft by, the generosity of my fans last year, and even my students too. I had more students. I picked up a bunch of students. I got a bunch of new students. I had about as many as I could handle. I still do. I still have about as many as I can handle. And even my students, their parents were extra generous with me. And I just, and I've never asked for money. I put my PayPal information, and I kind of made it a point to not push that or make it like I don't want it to cost anything. And some of my peers are doing things like Patreon and things like that, but I don't want to charge people. I'd rather freely give and then kind of, see how that goes. And I mean, there's no other word for it. I have been truly astonished.
That's really encouraging to hear.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Do you follow a bunch of other artists that are doing similar things as you online? Other friends of yours, or?
Oh, or for sure. I mean, most of my peers and colleagues are doing something. Everybody's had a different way to kind of cope with all the gigs being, canceled. But a lot of people have done kind of what I do. I don't know. Some people tried it and then they didn't really get into it. I think I've had a lot of luck just being consistent. And I've had a luck, just by sticking with it. And that's kind of been the story of, I feel like my whole career is like, well, I'm just going to keep showing up and hopefully, that'll work out for me. And it has, right? As long as I keep showing up, I feel like people keep showing up for me.
That's cool. Can you talk a little bit about, like, you said you've done the puppet show with your friend, and then like I've seen online, you have the Jesus Christ Superstar Shadow Puppet Spectacular, and you do the Yuletide Express and the Circus Flora Clowns on Call. It seems like a wide mix of things that hopefully you'll get back to doing. I guess I'm curious to learn about how those shows go, how the process works of co-creating stuff. It seems like an interesting one component of the many things you do.
Well, that's kind of the name of the game, and always has been, right? Is figure out all the things I can do, right? Because I'm trying to put together an income, right? So I've always tried to keep it interesting, tried to do lots of things. And like I said, I've been in several bands over the years, and then I have these recurring events like at Christmas time. This started in 2005. I had kind of a vision of, I've been singing Christmas music actually with my guitar teacher since about 1999 or 2000. And when I moved to St. Louis, he moved here too, and we were still doing our Christmas music. And in 2005, I thought, I wish I could share the joy that it brings me to sing these songs with, my friends. And then I thought, I can't. I just got to get a bunch of black folders with the lyrics in them and some pencils and some sleigh bells. So since 2005, this group plays community centers and bars and coffee shops and the psych rehab center and nursing homes and, pretty much any venue that asks us to come out and play. And I just invite all of my group, which is right now about 600 strong. And then, and whoever wants to show up can show up, and there's no auditions and everybody can sing. In fact, the goal in these situations is to get everybody in the whole place to sing. There's no division between the audience and the performers. It's a sing-along group, right?
Wow.
And that's sort of been like,
this is a holiday.
Yeah, for the
special
holidays, and it's not like Away in the Manger and stuff. It's holiday hits, so it's Sleigh Ride and Most Wonderful Time of the Year, and sort of the holiday hits.
Right.
And
so go ahead.
it's been a wonderful experience. This is, well, like I said, it's been 15 years. Actually, it was 15 years. And then last year was the year that I did it by myself at home in my living room. But I made a Zoom so the people that wanted to come see each other could see each other on Zoom. And then I was leading the sing along, and I did it every day for 12 days so that people could get their holiday fix with me. And, sometimes at these live shows, there'll be 50 people show up to come sing with me. And truly, it becomes like the whole bar or wherever we are becomes this holiday bomb. I haul, 60 pairs of sleigh bells, 60 sets of sleigh bells. So it's just a deafening roar of sleigh bells and singing. And War Pigs made it in the set several years ago. We call that a Christmas song. So in St. Louis, I don't know if you know, there's a little St. Louis trivia. War Pigs by Black Sabbath is considered a holiday tune here.
That's news to me. I'm gonna have to. So okay. So what 12 days in December do we need to block off to come to St. Louis?
Well, in normal times, it's pretty much from after Thanksgiving until December 23rd is the official last date every year, because I travel to see my family for the holidays usually. So if you're in St. Louis in December and it's, in person activities going on, there's something going on almost every day. Sometimes several things per day.
Right. Well, it sounds like December is a fun month for you.
That's really fun. And then I decided I should try to take over Easter too. So maybe 10 years ago, I started doing Jesus Christ Superstar Shadow Puppet Spectacular because I love the music of Jesus Christ Superstar. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with it riding my bicycle around Oakley, Kansas on my paper route, listening to Jesus Christ Superstar when I was about 12. And it brought, one of the greatest stories that I'd ever heard into sharp sort of context, right? Like it brought it into a political context and like a historical context that really brought it to life for me. So I've always loved Jesus Christ Superstar, and Jesus Christ Superstar Shadow Puppet Spectacular. We set up a screen and show the movie, but we don't turn the sound on, and people make shadow puppets and they do shadow puppets directly on the movie. So you can interact with the movie via your whatever dragon shadow puppet or whatever it is you made. And then I set up a bandstand where people are welcome to come join me, and I performed the whole rock opera, accompanied by the. Yeah, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it because it didn't start like that. It started out with a couple songs that I knew, and over the years, it's now I play the whole rock opera. In fact, this year, I was in San Francisco and I took the show to Mount Davidson Cross. It's a big concrete cross on top of the highest point in San Francisco, and I performed the Jesus Christ Superstar with the big cross behind me, and
that's cool.
It's so fun. It's a way for me to sort of digest, a piece of music that's really special to me.
Did you get a permit, or was just nobody around in San Francisco because it was just lockdown and you're like, I'm going outside and singing this musical?
I didn't get a permit. There wasn't nobody around. I just figured, whatever, people are out there making noise all the time. I can take up a little space if I want to. And I'm not using any amplification. I'm just with my guitar.
Okay. Is that online? Can I see that? Can we share that with our audience?
For sure. That's
the one in San Francisco or just one of your normal performances?
I have 2 years worth of Jesus Christ Superstar on YouTube, on my YouTube account. That's Celia Later is my YouTube account. And there's a playlist that says Jesus Christ Superstar Sing Along or something. Anyway, both of the shows, last year's and this year's, are on YouTube, available for, consumption.
Right.
And
that's cool.
You asked me about one other thing I wanted to. Oh, Clowns on Call. That's an interesting thing and kind of new for me. St. Louis has a circus called Circus Flora. They employ circus artists from all over the world to come, and there's usually a run for a month every year. And they hired me about 4 or 5 years ago to be with their Clowns on Call program. And there's 3 of us clowns, and we travel to the children's hospital, one of the children's hospitals in St. Louis, and visit kids in their hospital rooms. We travel in pairs, so there'll be 2 clowns at a time that work a shift. We're in the hospital right now we're back in the hospital. We all got our shots and we're able to go back into the hospital. So I just had my first day back in the hospital in person with kids on Wednesday.
Cool.
And that's been really fun. I never set out to be a clown, but they recruited me, and they keep insisting that I'm a clown too. So
are you sure you didn't set out to become a clown?
I did set out to be an entertainer, and it does follow that clowning isn't that far off from what I do.
Well, so what is the background on how did you were always musically inclined? What happened after you left high school in terms of choosing music as a career and not just a pastime?
Well, I was still in high school. Maybe the summer before my senior year, I spent the whole summer going to different camps of different kinds. My parents just kind of told me I could do whatever I wanted to as long as I could figure out how to pay for it. So I went to lots of different camps, and I guess I got my guitar when I was about 15 years old, and I'd been playing and accompanying the sing-alongs at youth group for a few years. And, really, honestly, Justin, I wanted to mention this before and I forgot. Kind of everything I do is built around this idea of wanting to sing along with people, right? Like almost everything that I do is kind of sing-alongs. I don't focus a lot on original music. I focus more on an inclusive kind of sing-along vibe. That's so that summer I kind of got my teeth into playing for my peers at these camps. I'd bust out my guitar and play for people, and just the other kids were so encouraging to me. And I found out that if I made a lot of noise, I could make a lot of friends, and I was hooked, So I went to college, and I actually spent some time in Colorado, and I'd go play on the street in Boulder, and I'd kind of just play anytime I got a chance, and I really loved it. And then when I went to KU, at the behest of my friends, I got a weekly gig at this bar called Brown Bear Brewery that's not in Lawrence anymore. And I played there on Tuesdays for like 2 years. And I got a real taste of what it's like to, have a regular gig and be a working musician. Unfortunately, in Lawrence, it wasn't a big enough town, and I'd compete with myself if I played more than once a week. So
you cannibalize your own audience.
Exactly.
Spread them out over 2 days.
Yeah. So I stayed in Lawrence a couple years after I graduated, and I played, wherever I could. And I had a gig at a festival. At that time, it was like, 2000, and jam band festivals were big. And there was a trend where they get an acoustic musician to come play between the band slots at festivals. They called them tweeners. And so it was a great opportunity. You could get a lot of face time on stage, and a promoter from St. Louis came out to scout me, and he hired me for a few gigs down in Lesterville area. There's some festival venues kind of in the country here by the river. And he hired me for some shows at the festivals. And then he had me in town a couple of times and booked me up at bars and introduced me to radio personalities and bar owners, and just showed me around St. Louis. And I'd been looking for I wanted to move to the big city. And turns out, knocking on the door of New York City or Chicago, that nobody answered the door. But St. Louis rang my doorbell and said, come on out. And, the price is right. And this place is really special. It's a little wild. It can be a little lawless. It's a troubled city, but for an enterprising individual, you can write your own ticket here. And I've had incredible success, not necessarily as a musician, but as a valued member of my community. I feel like my community really supports me and understands that, this is kind of like, in the old days, you got your people in town that you call when you're having your wedding, or when you're having a funeral, or when you need somebody to entertain the children. And that's how it feels, is that I have a role in my community. And that's really, to me, the greatest measure of my success, is feeling like I have a part to play in this, community.
That's great. I feel a similar sort of sentiment being back in Oakley now. You see the same people a lot, and everybody is kind of supporting each other in their work life and their spiritual life and their needs when somebody gets sick. And it's kind of it's a neat environment that is, you get it in the larger cities, but only if you happen to have a friend group.
Well, St. Louis is sort of special because it's sort of a great big small town, you know. It's and it has its problems, you know. It's sort of it can be a little parochial, and like I said, it's kind of troubled. It can be a little wild. It's a little Wild West out here sometimes, kind of lawless, but it's just spread out enough, and the pace is slow enough. I feel like as a kid, I thought I wanted to go to the big city, but the values that I learned in Oakley and the pace of life and things like that, I didn't know how important they were to me until I lived in St. Louis for a long time and realized like what's valued to me is community and having time and space to like do the things I want to, not having to, you know, it's not a grind. I can enjoy. Right. And that's really important to me. And I think that was like growing up in Oakley. You don't have to move too fast, you know. In fact, you should slow down and talk to some people.
Right. Well, so growing up in Oakley is a small town for sure.
Smallest.
But so what was your experience as, you know, a gay kid growing up in a small town like this?
Well, I was sort of like, I didn't know I was gay. I mean, maybe somewhere in there I had a clue, and I think I overcompensated a lot. I was super religious. I thought maybe I could force this thing that was different about me or that was wrong about me. Maybe I thought I could kind of force it out if I had something else that was different about me. You know, maybe if I was super religious or a kind of a spiritual leader to my peers, maybe I wouldn't have to worry about this thing that I felt like might set me apart, you know, from my peers. I late in high school, I started to get it that, okay, you know, I didn't really know. And you know what I mean? Back then in the 80s and 90s, I didn't know any gay people. I had no adult role models at all. Right. Or, you know, but I do know that I'd see some women out there that I'd be like, what is going on there? I want to be like her, right?
You saw that in this community, or like when you went to college, or, you
know, kind of traveling around, or, you know, just as a kid, you know, you see people, and I couldn't put my finger on it, right? But it was something different. And it was queer, you know, somebody that was a queer person, you know, in whatever way that was. I think I'd see that, and I wanted it. And honestly, Justin, when we were kids, I loved you and looked up to you so much. And I think this happened to me with a few kids growing up, that later on in life, I found out that they were gay too. And I was like, oh, that was it. Of course that was, you know. Right. But I just remember, and it happened a lot with boys like you, where I thought I had a crush on you, but I didn't. That wasn't it at all. I had like a gay crush on you, right? And so it all became more clear when I left Oakley. Right. And I did fear for, I didn't want to be rejected. And my older brother, who's not gay, was bullied throughout high school because he was a piano player. He didn't play football, and he had some, you know, people in his world that were probably not the sweetest people. And so he ran into some real problems, you know, and they thought he was gay, or that's how they teased him. That's the angle they took to tease him. And it really was, I think, frightening for him. And so I think I saw that in my own way, and didn't want to rock the boat. My childhood, though, was so great. I feel like I was really loved and supported by the kids in my world and the grown-ups in my world. You know, I didn't feel like I was going to have any problems, as long as I kind of didn't act totally gay.
Right. Well, I have a perception of your mom and dad as being an unconditional love type of parenting style.
Really supportive, right? They really supported me and my brother in all our endeavors. And, it wasn't without we had some rough patches. My dad died when I was in high school, so we never had to, he wasn't there when I came out, and I don't know what that would have been like, but, my mom and I, it's been an adjustment for her. I think that generation probably just thinks about things a lot differently than people do now, and it's scary. It was scary for me, and I know it was scary for my mom to think that my life might be made more difficult because because I was gay.
Did you experience rejection when you did come out?
Not rejection. My mom was clear from the beginning that it wasn't, that she wasn't going anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. But I know that it was an adjustment, and probably still is at some level. I think, it is for us too, right? We grow up thinking things are going to be a certain way, and then it turns out it's not that way, and it can be disorienting. But she's always been there for me and let me know that I have a home with her.
Right.
Even if she disagrees with some of the things that I do. And I don't necessarily think she thinks that about my, life choices in general. I just think it's we don't always line up on our beliefs, right? Naturally.
Right. Well, did you have trouble reconciling your spiritual and religious convictions that you were embracing early on with your own sexuality? Sure
I did. I did a lot of searching for a long time. I went through several years where I told everybody that would give me half a chance that I was an atheist. I think I just wanted to be punk about it and be like, oh, I just don't believe in God. But I think more than that, it was my sort of rejection of how, religion had sort of given me a lot of baggage that I had to, slough off. You kind of grow up thinking that the church won't accept you, or thinking that it is wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And you gotta work through that. You gotta kind of look for what's real, what is my faith, what is my spirituality versus what's the dogma or the indoctrination that I encountered growing up. And my church was so loving. I really felt at home in my church. In fact, I took on a lot of ownership of my youth group. I wanted to be the song leader in youth group. I felt like it was an important role for me to help try to glue us together by singing together. I loved those people. I didn't feel rejected by it, but I do know that religion has been something that I had to personalize quite a bit to like maintain my faith and to have a faith that works for me. That's a practical Christianity that like teaches me how to treat people and puts love above all else. And like, that wasn't necessarily how it was always presented to me, or maybe it was presented to me like that, but the nuts and bolts of it often looked different, right? It often looked like, what's going on there. That's a really different look than loving one another, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of exclusionary versions of Christian organized religion in this community and others.
Yeah, it's endemic to religion. It's not just in Oakley or in small towns. For oftentimes, religion is just another tool I think people use to control people.
Right.
So
and segment each. I got my group.
Yeah, right.
Right. So are you part of a spiritual community of some sort in St. Louis?
No, I stopped going to church a long, long time ago. I'd rather hang out at home, play music on Sundays. but I appreciate kind of the value that my faith gives to my work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like I'm not anti-church. I just don't attend. But I do feel like I apply a certain kind of spirituality to most of my
Well, and
activities.
you perform a rock opera.
I perform a rock opera.
I mean,
about
basically.
Jesus.
Right.
And, Christmas, all this stuff has maybe not if religious undertones, sort of a religious root,
Mm-hmm. Well, so
and I'm into it. I'm into love. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, so our podcast today is in honor of the moms. Do you have any lessons learned from Bonnie Shacklett?
Oh, Bonnie.
Met lessons or teachings or?
My mom taught me how to play, and she taught me how to use my imagination to enjoy my life. And I feel like those are some of the earliest lessons I learned from my mom. And my mom was a kindergarten teacher for 30 years. And I think that was I feel like that was her whole job, was to be with these 5-year-old kids and try to show them how play is an important part of life. And I remember being a little kid and my mom pointing out the shapes in the clouds and using our imagination together to try to make, to interpret those shapes as certain things and try to see what each other sees, and she taught me how to play. And when I say play, I'm talking about music too, right? She didn't teach me how to play music, but she taught me that playing is for fun, right? And she always supported me with music and would bring home all kinds of instruments and be like, hey, check it out. I got this clarinet at an estate sale. See if you can play it. So I spent a lot of time in my childhood and in my youth, playing with instruments and just trying to see if I could make it work. And now that's what I do for my life, is I play music and see if it can work,
That's pretty cool. Was my mother's education for you an influence?
For sure. Your mom, I don't really even remember the music teacher before your mom, except I remember her suits, which I thought were really great, but I remember those. But when your mom came in, she was about the coolest lady to ever set foot in that school building. I mean, she wore the coolest clothes. She was so beautiful. She had the best haircut. And on Fridays, when I was about in 4th or 5th grade, she'd invite our class to bring in our tapes from home, what we like to listen to. And I just remember Fridays in music class, sharing our music with each other, and all those kids just dancing and really getting free with each other and experiencing each other's music. And I feel like your mom helped me discover rock and roll and the power of rock and roll just through letting us share music with each other in a place where we could throw down and dance, And, she also taught us a lot of musical, a lot of technical music stuff that I feel like was a little bit rare for kids in like a general music class in grade school. She taught us a lot of part singing, and she broke it down for me in ways that I saw that music was makeable, right? Like to break it down into the component parts helped me with all my music lessons, and then all those music lessons in turn helped me to understand that, it's just, you can do this. You can make music, and you can make music your own,
Right.
And she's really special to me. Your mom's an extra special teacher from my childhood. She kind of shepherded me through some really hard times. I was terrified to sing in front of people, and I went to her for help. I asked her for some singing lessons, and I don't know how many times she sat with me at a piano while I cried and couldn't even sing one note by myself, But she stuck with me, and she tried to help. And I think she was really encouraging, and I got through it. Right. I think this is my destiny. It's always what I wanted to do, and I had to do it, but I had to kind of get through a real hump to figure out that you don't have to be really good enough. You just have to try,
Yeah. Well, I guess happy Mother's Day, Regi and Bonnie.
Happy
and
Mother's
all moms
Day
out there.
To all the moms, but what wonderful teachers we had,
Yeah, for sure. One of the songs that you perform, I've seen you perform it very often at the end of your shows, is I Love Myself. And I'm curious about the background on that, and we could kind of close out with that song. And you may want to back up on your last song. I think that you may have been the guitar was under your speaker on your phone.
Oh, okay, sure thing. Yeah, I might even stand up for this.
But yeah, so is this a song? I'd never heard it before I heard your perform it. What's the story on I Love Myself?
Well, I was a camp counselor at a camp here in St. Louis for several years. And one of the activities that I led was I'd help kids with songwriting. And this kid wrote this song. His name is E.J. Funny, or he told me his name was E.J. Funny at the time. I found out later that was a pseudonym. But he wrote this song when he was 6 years old. And I mean, I remember, the kids would write all their words out, or maybe we'd record something. I would play and they would sing, and it would be an improvised piece. But I remember he wrote this out and he brought it to me and he's like, here's my song. And it was complete. So I put it to this tune. I put the melody to it and I put these chords to it. And I've been playing it for kids now for, I think, 12 years or something. I think this kid's, I think he's in his 20s now. I think he's finished with college.
Is EJ Funny's agent coming after you for your Venmo fees?
No, I had an opportunity a couple years ago to play this song in front of EJ Funny. He was in the audience, and I talked to him about it too. I'm like, how do you feel about this? Is it okay? He loves it. He's very proud of his song, and he's proud of how where it's gone. It's like a little independent being. His own song is traveling through the world.
He wrote it when he was 6.
He wrote it when he was 6. And I remember playing it for him in the park. He was there. He was about 22 at the time. And his hands went to his face and tears ran down. He was so proud. It was the sweetest thing ever. So,
all right. Well, happy Mother's Day to EJ Funny's mom.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, his grandmother got in touch with me one day last year because she saw me online singing that song. And she sent me a picture of EJ Funny. Wrote it down on a piece of paper, and she took a picture of it. It's still hanging on her refrigerator as of last year.
All right, well, let's take it away.
Here we go. I love myself. I love myself. I'm talented. I'm lucky, and most of all, I'm cool. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yes.
EJ Funny and I Love Myself, performed by Celia Shacklett. Shack Attack.
Check that.
Well, it's been great to talk to you this morning, Celia.
Thanks so much, Justin. It's wonderful to see you, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed your podcast. It's really great. Thank you so much.
Thanks. It's fun to talk to people and hear what their lives are like. 30 years after we grew up together. So
right.
I'm nudging the number up to the actual number of years we've known each other.
Close enough.
All right. Well, have a good weekend. And I look forward to seeing Jesus Christ Superstar and some Christmas shows when I can pass through St. Louis.
Yeah, right on. Hey, Justin, see you later.
I'll see you later. All right. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.